I go, I got a big problem. I'll never forget it. We were in your office. I'm like, I'm really happy.
Big problem.
And you and Gary said the same thing. You're like, that doesn't sound like a problem, you know?
Welcome to Conversations with Vera. I'm Vera Quinn. Today we're sitting down with an inspiring entrepreneur from our network. We'll dive into their journey, the challenges they've overcome, and what continues to drive their success. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited for everybody to hear from you. My friend Eric Chapman is here for Conversations with Vera. I have like a few questions, and then we're going to have some fun together.
Okay, sounds fun, Vera.
How many people did you bring with you?
I think about 65 in total.
65.
Here today, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to dive into the what and the why. I mean, that's a massive investment. But first, let's get to know you. Give me some Eric Chapman history.
Eric Chapman history. History in the business or Eric Chapman in general?
No, let's say Eric Chapman in general. Pre.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland, which is kind of rural.
Okay.
You know, most people think of Maryland as, you know, big city. But it was a really nice place to grow up. You know, I lived on the water in the Chesapeake Bay and had great parents and beautiful little, you know, blue-collar neighborhood. And, you know, my dad was a teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So not a lot going on, but it was a great neighborhood. I went to college. My parents really couldn't afford to pay for me to go to college. So had to work multiple jobs and, you know, pay my way through school, which was challenging, but I think maybe in hindsight it was really helpful to developing a lot of confidence and a tremendous amount of work ethic. And then graduated from school and a little unsure of which career I should go into, and had a really good advice session from my uncle Chuck, who, you know, suggested sales. And I was a marketing major, so it was kind of on the table already.
Why did he suggest sales, Eric?
I had a beach sales job selling telescope pictures, which are these little keychains in Ocean City, Maryland, which helped me pay through college. And I had done retail and tended bar, and kind of all of my jobs revolved around people. I never really thought of myself as being a salesperson. I was just doing jobs that I think maybe I did well in, and that probably is why he suggested it. But I'm also extremely competitive, and I think the athlete mentality fits well in the sales environment. And that's kind of where he was coming from. In sales, there's a little bit of a scoreboard, you know, like you can compete in it, and that was probably the number one reason he thought I would be good at it. So it turned out to be good advice. Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. I didn't know I was going to like it. I was like a lot of people. I was afraid to make sales as a career at first because I didn't know the lay of the land. So I was a little bit apprehensive about it. But, you know, through interviewing companies in the DC area, you know, most of them, I kind of didn't like the vibe I got, but I interviewed at Barb's office and just kind of felt good. So I decided to take a leap of faith and give it a try.
Okay, and that was when?
2004.
Okay.
I think. 2004, yeah.
2004.
Yeah.
All right. And so tell us, and then?
I was terrible at sales. You know, I wasn't one of those natural, which I was kind of surprised because after working on the beach and selling scopes, I had really comfortable talking to people. But it turns out that you have to also in business-to-business sales, be a great listener. You kind of have to slow down. So I got off to a little bit of a rough start, but I had, you know, Barb's training environment was really good. And I had patient leaders that worked with me, and they spent time with me outside of work to help get me up to speed. And I kind of cracked the code. One thing I did right, though, is once I got to team leader, I wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to be the best. So I just kept going.
Pushing.
And until I was, you know, the number one rep in the nation, I wasn't going to be satisfied. And
Wow.
I just kept pushing until I mastered it.
Wow. And how long did it take you? So coming in, entry level, hey, I want to be number one. How long?
I think I started to feel like I was getting good about 3 months in, but I was always in the top 10 in the nation. And and then I got in the top 5 a couple times. And it kind of really bugged me, you know. I kept asking Barb to send me on business trips where the other top reps were. And they all had different kind of, I would call them special powers. You know, some people were really good with being funny or relationship building. Other people were great at territory management or had command of the product knowledge. And I tried to pick up a little something from everybody. And then one month it kind of all just came together and worked out. And I hit that first goal, which was be number one.
Be number one.
I think that was around month 4, maybe 4.5 or into the business where I started to feel like I was hitting my sales goals.
Okay, so when you think about goals, this is just interesting, a little bit of a tangent. Okay, I have this goal, I want to be number one. And then were you like thinking already, what's the next thing? Or then you get there and now you look around and you say,
yeah,
now what?
Well, there's some gray area in there.
Mm-hmm.
So Barb's office was a high producing, high opportunity office. So there was people getting promoted. So I knew that there was a lot of people growing in the business,
mm-hmm.
but I really wasn't taking it that seriously. I just really, my goal was to master sales.
Okay.
And I was intrigued by this opportunity and I started to pay attention a little bit more. But I think if you were really to ask me, and I answered truthfully, I was probably still thinking about transitioning into finance or medical supply sales after about a year of entry-level sales. But Barb took me and a couple people to a conference, and that's where I maybe dug back another couple layers of the business, and I just kept liking what I found more and more and more. And meeting Gary and speaking to him in person about his vision for the business from a character perspective, from a character development, that really struck me because I hadn't been hearing that at other companies. You know, I met John, Jim, other people that had a really grand vision for our growth and more clients. We can earn the right to represent dozens, ultimately hundreds of clients. And I hadn't really put any thought into the fact that the industry itself, the whole company and the industry could really blow up. So that trip really made a big impact on me. And I think I started paying more attention. I looked deeper into things, and I started to notice that a lot of the top owners had values that I related to, that like my grandparents would teach me, which is, yeah, we want to be super successful. It's a good thing to be ambitious, but also they were highly focused on helping the people on their team. I would say maybe even more focused. That was their top priority, seeing their people win. And their own win was more of a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And I could start visualizing what life would be like down the road at my age now. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought I would really like being an owner and a consultant maybe one day in my 30s, 40s, 50s. That seemed like a very fulfilling path and financial rewarding too. So at some point I decided I'm going to go for it.
And now you're there.
Yeah, I did all that.
Like
yeah.
And how does it feel? Like
every bit of what I thought it was and more. At that time, after paying my way through school, I was really sick of being broke. So if you were to ask me, like, what do you want? I'm like, I want to make a lot of money. And to me, that was like $150,000 a year.
Right.
Like, I'll be rich,
right.
And then I had bigger goals, and I hit all them. And you might recall, I bought my second home, and I had kids growing up, and we had money in the bank. And I can't say I was like super wealthy, but I was more wealthy than I ever imagined I would be. I made more in January than my parents made in a year ever. So I remember being a little bit lost because this thing that was driving me, which was get to this place where, things feel good and I'm providing for my family. Well, I've done all that. And that was maybe the first time I've ever felt lost in my life since I stopped playing basketball. And I didn't know I've always thought.
What was next?
Right. So I flew out here and I got a big problem. I'll never forget it. We were in your office. I'm like, I'm really happy.
Big problem.
And you and Gary said the same thing. You're like, that doesn't sound like a problem, But it felt like a problem to me because I always had this real fire driving me. That's when COVID happened, and that was really hard, and I like hard. So the last 3 or 4 years, I feel like that fire is fully burning. And
you're a builder. I think that's really interesting. There's some people who are, the dreamers, the builders, the maintainers, and all are great, necessary. I think that building, that at least that's what I see when I work with you is when you're in that zone. It's
Yeah, I feel that way. I'm happiest when everything's not working, but it's a noble pursuit to like make it work.
make it work.
Right.
And a lot of people are going to win because of it. That's the
Right.
other.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So I want to go back to something because I think this is interesting. You brought 65 people here.
Yeah.
They're going to be in California for 3 days. It's a massive investment. What do you hope that this experience does for them?
My biggest hope is that it helps them, by taking a step back from the day-to-day, think deeply about their futures and what's important to them, and help create a vision for their own businesses. And in addition to that, think about how they want to do it. So just like when I was on the trip and I heard Jim and John talk about the vision and Gary talk about the values, and all that came together for like a noble path forward, I hope that these guys start thinking about those two things, because I find when people are thinking forward to the identity they want to become, like they want to build a life for their team and themselves, I think that unlocks like that entrepreneur passion that makes all the magic happen. And I think that's when really good business partnerships get formed. So I'm hoping they'll take that away more than anything else.
Well, they seem super engaged, really sharp. I really liked how you introed with the goals. You've been around for a minute.
Yeah, a couple minutes.
If you were going to say, hey, these were the biggest changes in me, and I feel like these things stayed the same, what would they be?
Well, I'll start with changes. Barb asked me one time, and I think I've been asked this a couple times. You never get asked a question and you know the answer, and later you think about it, and then you're like, oh, I did not know the answer. Right. Barb asked me if I were on my team, would I follow me? And I was like, yes, I rock.
I am amazing.
Yeah, I wish I was my leader. That was my answer. No, and sometimes you look back, you're like, oh, it's so embarrassing, But for whatever reason, I couldn't get that question out of my head. And I started really thinking about it. And at the time, I was really young, and I was very judgmental of people. I was skeptical and judgmental, and especially anyone of authority, anyone that tried to give me advice or steer me, I would look at all their faults. So I kind of, I guess, went through the exercise of, well, would I respect me?
Huh.
And then I looked at myself from that perspective, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of faults. And maybe I never even really noticed them before because I was so busy looking out in the world.
Right.
And it was kind of a difficult thought process because there was a lot of things that I actually didn't like about myself. And then the scariest thing was I wasn't sure I wanted to change them.
Huh.
And
even the things you didn't like.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was ready to give them up yet.
Okay. And you had the discernment, the awareness.
Yeah. Huh. First step was the awareness.
Right.
That was horrifying. Second step was struggling with, do I want to set these down? I was smart enough to know there's a big consequence for not. So what really comes down is, do you care more about today or my future?
Right.
And, at my 20-year anniversary, I spoke about my granddads.
Yeah.
And they came to mind, they had passed at this point, but I guess I'd tried to always live up to a standard that was close to maybe the way they operated. I remember thinking, I don't think they would respect, me continuing on this path of being a boy and being a, middle 20s something kid, and it's okay. I haven't done it, there's nothing really particularly wrong but I'm just not seeking deep responsibility. I'm kind of trying to avoid responsibility. And if I'm going to succeed in this business, or probably anywhere, I've got to start becoming a very responsible person. I can't ask anyone to do anything that I'm not willing to do. Right. So, obviously I didn't change everything overnight, but I started to make little changes really quickly. And the first thing was, let's really get good at balancing the budget and getting good with money, saving money. There was just lots of little habits that I started to work into the day-to-day. And then, anyone that's successful knows, it starts to feel really good. And you actually enjoy that more than the bad habit in time.
Right.
So that's how I got the process started and how I changed.
What hasn't changed? If you were like looking back, like what are the pieces of you that you're like, man, really at my core?
Yeah, some things that I did like about myself then, and I'm incredibly optimistic. I never think anything's going to go wrong. I've been hurt a lot, injured snowboarding because I always think I'm going to land a jump. I would say I'm optimistic to a fault, and I don't want to change that. I never want that to change. I think I will do the right thing, even if people aren't watching, and even if it hurts. And I didn't always know that about myself, but I think I trust myself in that way. I don't know if I knew this when I was young, but I think I do know who I am now. And that feels really good.
Well, it sounds to me from at least an awareness perspective, I don't think it's really easy when you're really any time, not younger or older. I think it's really hard to be able to say, hey, this is what's serving me, this is what isn't. And then really ask the question, am I willing to do anything about it? I mean, that is such a mirror question. Mm-hmm. Look in the mirror, make a decision. Yeah. And then those consequences are yours.
Yeah. And I think we hide those things from ourselves.
For sure.
Bringing it to awareness is just that part is probably a painful process for most people. It was for me. And then wrestling with what I'm going to do about it.
What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
I have some good advice, feedback. I've heard some.
Okay.
Like from you. So I'm going to just switch this a little bit. I know a really big part of your life is your relationship with your wife and your children. Mm-hmm. So when you think about where you are in that journey, how do you think about what you've learned through life, the business, and then going through being married and then parenthood while being an entrepreneur, while running a business, while mentoring so many people?
What a great question. There's a lot of things. The first one that comes to mind is that one of the things that is so great about the business is it provides you a community that is awesome, and you can easily start obsessing and putting all your emotional energy into your business and leaving very little for yourself, for your family at the end of the day, right? So that's a testament to how great the business is. But the trap is it's a slippery slope where when you come home at the end of the day and you're still answering texts and you're not present at home. For me, that's an ongoing struggle. I think if you were to ask Tara, I still get that wrong from time to time, for sure. But I do think I've worked very hard at making time, daily, weekly for my family and not having the business blend into it, or the other way around.
Or the other way.
One of the things I started doing that Tara was wise enough to suggest is to start going on family trips. And we often go to places where cell phone doesn't work. We were just in Glacier National Park last year, and the phone didn't have reception, and it was great. You just really connect. You can connect a little bit over dinner every night, but sometimes it's good to just dive in. So I make time for that, and I think it recharges me. I think I come back.
You're ready.
Tremendously more effective. It sharpens the saw.
Right, and I think also as your children get older, right, that's important for them.
Oh.
Hey, we're all disconnected, and we're only connected to one another.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Doesn't happen often. I mean, for most people, most families probably.
Yeah, you might be right about that. I think it takes a little bit of time to really listen, and start letting the guard down and getting in sync.
Yeah.
And it's easy to take for granted the people that you love the most, right? So trips have helped with that. And, in the meantime, in the days and the weeks, in between, we cut out time to do things together as a family. I think dinners at night are really important. Being interested in the person's day, having the energy for that. So
yeah, what did somebody say? Be where your feet are.
Be where your feet are.
Be where your feet are. Okay, I'm going to take this a little differently, more educational. When you look at top performing reps over the years, what do you think shows up consistently?
I think the best reps vibrate positivity right off of them, right? Not to get too trippy with it, but they understand to get to where their goals are, they have to help people. And so when they approach the customer, they're not trying to sell them. They're trying to help them. And that might be a smile. It might be, hey, stick with what you have. What we have isn't the right fit for you. But that vibration, it just feels good, right? And then what happens is first you get more sales that way because the customer isn't really paying too much attention to the service until they trust you. So because you're coming off of that pupil dilation, that body language, they sense that you're a person that they can trust.
Trust, yeah.
And so you get a higher number of customers that engage with you. But what I think happens even more than that is the people that you're training, they go, wow, that felt really good. I don't know this for sure, but I think if you polled people that are interviewing for sales jobs, what is your greatest fear? I think would be one of two things. One, I don't ever want to sell something to someone that doesn't need it.
Right.
And two, I want to be able to trust the people I'm working with. And so the sales reps that are doing the sale from that premise, that the way I get to my goal is I just help people, they feel great about the experience and they buy in. And I think that's why those people build crews so much faster than other people.
What do you think people learn? Like, it's not although in some ways I think it's one of the oldest professions, sales, right?
Yeah.
So, but there is, like you said, a negative connotation to it, or people tend to stay away from it. You kind of know you're selling yourself all the time. I mean, I sell myself when I have an idea for dinner.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is?
I think I was just talking about this with a rep last night who came from the car sales industry. And in the company she worked for, their goal was to make the sale. So when you're telling yourself, I need to make the sale, what you'll do, probably subconsciously, maybe even consciously, is do things to get the customer to buy, which is a form of manipulation, even if it's well-intended. And so that makes people feel that. They don't want to be manipulated, even if the car is a good car for them. So it all comes from the intent. And I think what we do well, I would say we may even do it great, is we teach maybe just a little of a deeper intent, which is the sales will take care of themselves. You don't have to worry about them. What you have to do is you control how many customers you see. Work hard to find the right ones for the service and shoot them straight, be honest. All right. And only ask for the business if it's a good fit. If you were that customer, you would do it. And everybody wants to make sales, but I think if we build the right culture, that'll really separate us from other companies.
Okay. I got a few more and then we're going to get to fun stuff. Okay.
Cool.
What do you want to be known for?
I want to leave this industry better than I found it. I want to be known for a person who built a business that provided great opportunity for people. I want to be known as a great husband, great father. I want my kids and grandkids to remember me the way I remember my grandmothers and my grandfathers, right? And I don't know how to put that into words, but I have a lot to live up to. Yeah.
In your 20th, when it was your 20th anniversary, you did talk about your grandpas, both of them.
Yeah.
And you shared some advice, like maybe best pieces of advice. Will you share?
Sure. So I think what you're referring to was how I was about ready to make a bad decision and sleep in one day. And for whatever reason,
you heard
my grandfathers, maybe spoke to me, or whatever happened, where I felt immediately guilty. They would not look kindly on me doing this. I got to get my butt up and get going. And, if I'm not going to do the right thing, I got to tell, if I'm not going to accept this job, I got to tell someone right to their face. I can't sleep in. So I think by the example that they set for me, that instilled in me these values that I've tried to live up to, and that served me in all kinds of ways. So I think what I was referring to is I hope one day I could be influential like that, where if I can hold myself to those kind of standards, then it will influence other people
to do the same.
Yeah, like my grandfathers did me.
Yeah. What's something about the business you wish everybody knew?
I think business and sales and life can be hard. I think everything, but that's actually where all the good is, right? So if I was thinking about someone that's coming in day one, I'm sure they wish everyone would just say yes, and there would be no no's, right?
I wish to that.
I would be great, But actually, it's the no's where all the values is, because it forces you to look inward about your communication style and why aren't customers accepting. I would say the no's actually probably are more valuable than the yeses. And so if I had a magic wand and if people knew that going into it, they would appreciate the process of going through a little bit of rejection faster, then I think that would be good for people.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, I got some fun ones. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, any superpower for the day, what would it be? How would you use it?
Time machine, for sure.
Time machine?
Yeah.
So you'd go back in time?
No.
Oh.
I'd take new people to the future and show them how good they're going to be.
Oh. I'm like, why would you go back in time? Okay.
Oh, I think the biggest problem is self-doubt.
I mean, you had that one. You were just like,
thought about it.
Boom.
I've thought about that forever. So one of the things I say to new people quite commonly is I want you to imagine I have a time machine. I'm going to take you to your imaginary future. All right? And you're going to be shocked at how amazing you are at this skill you're working on. All right? Shocked. Now, that day's coming, and I'm going to brag that I was right about it, okay? So you just have to trust me, but we're going to have that day. I'm going to call you, and I go, look at you. You're that person we went in the imaginary time machine to. And I found that has a pretty good success rate.
I love that.
Yeah, so.
I may steal that. That's a really good one.
You can steal it, yeah.
Time machine. Somebody last time said mind reading. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think I'd want to read people's minds.
There's a movie about that, wasn't there?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite book, movie, podcast right now?
Okay, well, picking a favorite one, it's got to be 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. But
I mean, it's definitely mine.
I brought 5 of my. It's that one of my others. I'm a basketball guy, so I like Leadership by John Wooden. That's probably my top 2. I have to read the 7 Habits every so often because I think I get away from them sometimes.
Yeah.
Podcast, I watch Rogan occasionally. I rarely sit down for the whole 3 hours and watch it.
It's a long investment.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of thought-provoking. Did you say movie? Mm-hmm. I haven't watched a movie in a long time. I can do show.
Okay, what's your show?
I just watched A Night of 7 Kingdoms.
So Steven just told me.
So good.
We got to watch it.
You'll love it. I think you'll love it.
Okay.
So Duncan the Tall.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Oh, if you know, you know. Okay. What's one small thing that makes your day better?
Well, I love coming in the office in the morning. I love seeing the guys. What fuels me is watching the guys work through their problems and succeed and being some small part of that. And then I love just as much coming home at the end of the night. I love my home. It just feels like a home, I love my wife and kids. I love finding out about their days. There's always something exciting going on. My oldest daughter just learned to drive, and this weekend she went to a party. She drove there. It's very scary stuff.
How do you feel? How do
terrified.
you feel?
But a good movie, you're terrified, right?
Yeah.
So those are the 2 best parts of the day: walking into the office in the morning, and one thing I do at night, Vera, is I always think to myself, something amazing is going to happen tomorrow. So be ready for it when it comes. And then it does. Something every day, amazing happens. And then I think before I walk through the front, I usually drive home, and it gives me about a 20-minute time to just
think and
shift
decompress.
gears. I don't know if I'm a naturally good listener, but I love my kids and I love my wife. And all of a sudden I want to find out about their days, right? So that puts me into very good listening mode, and I get excited about that process. Coming home, getting to eat dinner together, finding out about everyone's day, And then, we always have our plans that are coming up together too. So that's probably, the best part of my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody taught me, I do gratitude every morning, and they taught me to give gratitude for the day before, as if I didn't give it gratitude, I'd never see it again.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So then it's like when I reflect on the day, it's like, no, I really loved that third coffee. I really
Right.
loved it because I love coffee. And in a way that if you just don't, then it could go away. And it just makes me more, to your point, thoughtful, aware, and grateful.
Yeah, you operate, everything operates differently,
Yeah.
right? When you're in that mindset.
Yeah.
And I got to go to bed with that thought. If I go to bed with that thought, I wake up with it.
Yeah.
And if I
What's
wake
gonna
up with it, I
happen?
get going,
Yeah.
It's something like
What
excitement
amazing
about the
thing.
anticipation of what might happen. you
Yeah.
know? So,
Well, the eternal optimist. I love that.
yeah.
Well, that's what I had for you, E. I loved it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is fun.